has changed. America has changed. If something were to happen tomorrow, how self-sufficient would you be? Could you grow your own food? Could you sustain your own livestock? Could you survive? This is the We Grow Our Show with Nick and Don. Nick and Don talk about everything from politics to planting. They cover techniques, methods, and tips on how to not only survive, but thrive. Visit the website at WeGrowOurs.com. Lock and load. This is the We Grow Our Show. Get your grow on.
Welcome back to the We Grow Our Show after a much-needed hiatus.
Hiatus.
What does that mean?
It means we took a break.
Oh, okay. Because apparently I've been on hiatus from schooling for about 7 years. A sabbatical.
Since you were 7 years old, you mean?
No, I was like on my way to a degree in mechanical engineering, and then life went ahead and got in the way.
See, you learn something new every day. I had no idea you were going to school for mechanical engineering.
Oh, yeah. I have to say, though, I went there. I went to NAU, Northern
me too.
Arizona University.
Yes.
And loved it.
Me too.
Very good environment. I didn't exactly see eye to eye with a lot of my professors and the schooling system in general. Now, I'm all for diversity. I'm all for different views. I'm not for the indoctrination of the nation through college education.
I couldn't agree more.
There's a whole lot of shins in that sentence.
Yeah, I know. I went up to NAU. I loved it. I don't think I attended school at all. I was too busy drinking and doing other things. But,
I don't drink, so my only option was to go to school.
Yeah, that's the other things mainly, but it was a lot of fun. I was working security and had a blast up there.
Really?
I worked with the NAU PD. I worked security. I did security in Williams and Sedona and a lot of 24-hour shifts and had a lot of fun and, young kid carrying a gun around, right? It was fun.
Wow.
I had a blast and got to meet some really cool people. So,
no, I loved it up there. I actually got an opportunity to build a used oil refinery for diesel, used vegetable oil for diesel, and built that up. And then everybody else had the same idea, and we couldn't get oil, so it was kind of
that sucks.
Yeah, it kind of sucked, but I worked for good people and really enjoyed working there. I was a shop manager at a construction company.
Up in Flag?
No, actually, I was servicing their nail guns and equipment while I went to school up there.
Yeah.
But the refinery was built down in the valley because most of their work was down here.
Gotcha.
Built this whole thing up, had it all ready to go, and then we just couldn't get oil at all.
Oh, that's horrible.
And
no McDonald's around, huh?
Well, no, we didn't provide grease trap services, and so they need
to do that.
Yeah, they needed the grease traps cleaned out, and the oil was just kind of part of it. Well, They went from being charged to not being charged to charging.
Exactly. That's right.
And we couldn't afford to buy oil to do this. It was just dumb.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, it just kind of fell apart, and I started going to school at MCC, and it just wasn't the same vibe. And I'm like halfway through a degree in mechanical engineering.
Cool. I guess we're doing a Nick's history show.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to get all, listen how awesome I am. Speaking of how awesome I am, did you know I was awesome? Okay, so I've spent a little bit of time
so that's where the
television.
The gasification alternative energy came from, because you're all into that.
No, I've been doing that stuff since I was 12.
So that's what got you into wanting to work at a place like that.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
In fact, it was my stepdad's company that had me
Very
working
cool.
for him.
Very cool.
But while I was there, it was great because that's actually where I came up with the idea of pulverized hydrocarbons for fuel.
For fuel. Very good. And as you know, we saw your flamethrower.
That's right.
So it works. We did the prepper episode. I mean, the kind of more of the truth behind that, and that was more of a display of hydrocarbons and the power of poop than it was a defense weapon. So
yeah.
So this week, I think we're going to talk about your practical prepper score.
Yes.
All right. So I hope they don't mind us. That's actually the name of the company, right? Is Practical Preppers.
We'll give them credit. Go to practicalpreppers.com. Check them out.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about a little bit about the score because there's been a lot of feedback about the score that you got, and it was pretty low. What did you end up with? 55, 45, something like
55.
that?
55.
So 6 months?
Yes.
Initial survival time.
Yeah.
Now that's Doomsday Preppers
pulling it up
that
right
did
now.
that. So we wanted to kind of go through and get to something that some of our fans have asked us about. Some of the listeners have said, hey, we want to know about the nuts and bolts of how you get started in doing this. Now, we've done some things like that in past episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So this time we want to kind of take that and put it along with your Practical Preppers score and talk about some of the things that maybe we didn't see on the TV show. And then some of the things that people can do if they're not preppers, if they're, thinking of getting into that. And also remember, this is just about being prepared for anything, not necessarily prepared for Armageddon. But what are some things that you can do to raise your own animals, and what prep should you make for those, even if you're not a prepper, if you're just an urban homesteader?
Yeah. And this is the advice I give people. Don't look at me as a prepper. Be a homesteader first and a prepper when you have to be.
Right.
It's not that we're all paranoid. It's the fact that, hey, crap happens.
There's a lot of different type of prepping.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some people, personally who they store away a year's supply of food. Uh-huh. They've got a devoted room to it. They've got tons of weapons. They are not homesteaders, nor do they want to be. They do not want to raise their own food. They frankly don't care much about GMO. It's on their radar. It's not something that they're concerned with. They want to live the way they want to live, and they're ready to go down in that bunker and live down in a shelter for a year if they need to. They're ready to bug out to a cabin. They don't care about the urban homestead portion of it because they feel between the two places that they have, they've got enough. That's probably what, in my mind, a true survivalist, true prepper is.
Yeah.
But I think the majority of people out there want to prep, want to eat better, want to be more self-sustaining, which is more what this show is too. We're not just geared toward picking up the AK-47s, throwing some MREs on the shelf and being happy with it.
Yeah. I got a gun in hand and God in heart. I'm set.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different philosophy.
Yeah. Everybody's got their styles, the way they live. My thought is one of the things we're lacking in the prepping community is the sense of community. It seems like everybody's got this, as the fit hits the shan, every man for himself.
Yeah.
And true, there's some militia groups that have gotten together and some things like that are organized. But, honestly, I look at a neighborhood like mine and I'm thinking about going door to door and handing out flyers saying, hey, we've got a plan here. We want to know who wants to raise their own food. Be glad to put on a meeting and just kind of get an idea. That way, when stuff happens, it's not everybody get the heck out of Dodge or the people that stay behind try to steal from their neighbors, all that.
Yeah, it's a community.
Exactly.
Maybe somebody doesn't want to raise their own food, but they want to work with gasification. Exactly. They want to store fuel. They want to store water.
Something they're good at.
And that they're passionate about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I grow food and play with gasification. Those are kind of my things. I like control over my stuff.
Maybe there's a nurse or a doctor in the community.
Exactly.
And they've got skills to do something like that. So, yeah, you're right. It is about community. So let's go through the, what are they? Food, water, shelter.
Yeah. Well, I'll just list off what they used on me was water, shelter, food, security, energy, and something they called the X Factor, which is just kind of the Doomsday Preppers gimmick. But let's start with water.
Yeah.
Water doesn't have to be a complicated thing to store. In fact, one of the easiest systems that I've seen is to buy 6 55-gallon drums and link them together so that when you put water in one, it drains into the next and into the next and then goes down a level into the next and into the next and into the last one, which is lower than all of them. You hook a garden hose up to the top one and you hook a feed line out of your garden hose on the bottom so that every time that you use water, you are using the oldest water that you have and the new water's going into the barrels. And so you have a constant storage of about 330 gallons of water.
Yeah. Now, see, being here in the desert, it's something that we need to worry about because water is the lifeblood. Without water, we're all going to die. We've got water problems in Arizona too.
Yes.
That's been making the news more and more. So we've got water problems. I think conservation out here is horrible. I don't necessarily agree in forced conservation, but at the same time, I see the waste out here and it's just unreal.
Yeah. It's depressing to see lawns being grown super green, super tall, getting cut down, thrown in a trailer, and then taken to the dump.
Yeah. It's so with that aside, water is huge. Mm-hmm. So depending on where you live, I think would really depend on what you need for water. Out here, we're talking about the 55 gallon drums. I would do IBCs. I've got some plans for almost exactly the same system, but with 6 275 gallon IBC totes.
And that's exponentially more water.
Yeah.
I'm just saying for starting off.
Well, what is it that we need per person for water? It's a gallon of water per day, I believe.
That's to be optimal health, but honestly, the last time I drank a gallon of water a day was
you're drinking a lot of other things too.
That's true.
But I mean, in a survival situation in Arizona in the summertime, you've got no air conditioning.
Yeah. If you're at 90 degrees or above, you're going to need a gallon a day.
Right. Now, how do we integrate? Let's say, okay, we put an IBC system in. We've got all this water. One of my big things is how do you get it there? How do you fill it? Rainwater?
Yeah.
Rainwater harvesting?
I think that while the sun is shining and the water company continues to feed your house with water, you have a system that always has 6 275 gallon totes on hand. That's a great system.
Right.
Now, we only get about 8 to 10 inches of rainfall in Arizona. Well, in this valley. Is that right?
Yeah. But I'll tell you, it depends on your roof as to how much you can grab too.
Yes. So if you've got a gutter system on your roof, you're already set up. You just need to figure out the harvest points.
Now, I want to caution that too, because there's a lot of things about harvesting rainwater, not just for you, but for your livestock, because we've got to throw them in there. The rabbits need water. The quail need water. The chickens need water. Everything that's living needs water. Your aquaponic system needs water.
Obviously, it's all water.
And your garden. So one of the things that I look at is how do we keep that water potable? Because what's coming off your roof may not be potable.
I would recommend calling that water non-potable.
And boil it, treat it.
Exactly.
I mean, we use, in the water supplies that we have, I actually use chlorine. We've got, I believe it's iodine, treatments for stored water. Now, I'm only storing water in 55 gallon drums at this point.
Yeah.
That's one of my preps. We don't have enough to go a long time, but we've got a week's worth of fresh water that's drinkable right now. But if you start adding rainwater, you're not drinkable anymore.
Well, and that's why you need to have 2 different systems.
Right.
I honestly, and actually I talked with a friend of mine that lives in Payson, Arizona. He talks about different types of mulches that you can put in the ground that will store humidity and water without any barrels or anything like that.
Well, it could be illegal where you live too.
Exactly. But this mulching system is
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
If you have a 10-foot pit that's 30 foot across by whatever, and you've got a bunch of mulch in there, and it just so happens that that's where your drainage goes,
now
sue me.
And you know what else is? I've seen that's a permaculture.
Yep.
Exactly. And that is how you grow trees. Mm. And in fact, if you do that right with trees and with other things, not only can you grow your trees by using the rainwater, but if you watch where your water runs off, even if you're not collecting it, and you can sometimes direct it, or if you watch the runoff where you're going to put that pit, you can build that so that thing will retain a ton, literally tons and tons of water with the right kind of pit put the right way. So that's a permaculture thing. And you've got a great garden now.
Exactly. And speaking of permaculture, we're in Arizona. We've got cactus galore. Mm-hmm. Cactus, believe it or not, store a ton of water.
Oh, yeah.
And you can suck on a cactus and get hydrated. Obviously, you want to get past the tines first.
Yeah, I'd like to get somebody like Cody Lundeen on here who the barefoot.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he's local in Sedona, so I'd love to get him on to talk about stuff like that. But now, we're talking about your score. What did you get?
I got a 16. I think it was 16 out of 20.
So how did they give you a 16 out of 20? Because I don't remember on the show seeing anything about water other than your aquaponics system, which they barely touched on.
Yes. The system that I got scored so high on was a basically a condenser coil that was solar powered and would pull moisture out of the air. So as long as you're at 12% moisture humidity in the air or higher, it's going to grab water. And the higher the humidity, the more water it grabs. And it comes out of the air clean.
Nice.
So this system was pretty cool. And
so they scored you on that, but they didn't touch about it on the show.
Exactly. And the reason is they had a list of things that they got from me before the show took place.
Gotcha.
And so
do you actively use that? Do you have it running?
Well, it not hooked up to the solar. I have it in the house.
Yeah. Okay. Because we had a solar person on who was talking about that system.
Yeah, that's who I got it from.
And what's his name?
His name is Chris Fry.
Chris Fry, that's right.
And episode 3?
It was pretty bad. It was all about solar.
Yep.
So go check that episode out if you're interested in that, because we discussed that. So how do we integrate that? I mean, we want to go to nuts and bolts. I figure this is a good way to do it. Water storage, we've got to feed and we've got to water everything. So if you're out there and you're doing any type of prepping and you're looking at the homesteading and kind of what to do, I think the animals, at least from what I've seen, even if it's non-potable, can survive much better. Unlike we can. The gut flora in the animals there's something different about it. They're drinking this water that doesn't necessarily have to be potable. So you have to worry about your roof and what's coming off of it, because you don't want to dump a bunch of
chicken crap or a pigeon crap.
Yeah, but even worse is some of the chemicals in the tar and things like that.
Your roof tars and things like that.
So, I mean, if you have a stainless steel roof or a metal roof.
Because we've all got one of those.
I mean, you're golden right there. You just dump out some of the water when it first starts raining, and the rest is probably potable. But that's certainly something to look into, is what's coming in and can you use it to feed your livestock and then treat it for you.
Also, remember that there are aquifers under the ground.
Yes.
The ones that they use for drinking are at 600 and 800 feet here in Arizona.
Yeah.
But one that they don't talk about is the watershed at 100 to 150. In some places it's 50 feet.
Yeah.
You can hand drill that.
Yeah, out here that can be tough.
Well, no, okay. The way you do that is you get a water pump.
Yeah.
And you force it through the PVC as it goes down. You can put a chisel head on.
Copper is even better. Small copper. We've done that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying that's a possibility as well. I won't go into the details, but there are people that will dig wells.
Yeah.
100, 200 feet, and you don't need a permit as long as it's for livestock.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So check your local laws out on that.
Check that out. Don't
that's
quote
even
me on
better.
it.
I mean, I know in Florida, my aunt is out there, and where they're at, they have a couple of hand pumps they put in.
But their water table's at like 20 feet.
Yeah, their I mean, they've put these in themselves, or they had somebody come out, whatever. But they have a hand pump that they can use throughout the farm, a few different hand pumps. So where they put their water for the cows, for the cattle, for the horses, for the goats, what they're doing is, instead of putting in a hose and running it 300, 400 feet or half a mile, some cases, when you're on 40 acres, they're actually just dropping in a hand pump well, and that's what they use to water their animals. So look into alternatives other than just a drinking water well, maybe something like a hand pump, like what you're talking about. And there's a lot of, I'm sure on YouTube and things like that, of how to design and build these things.
Yeah. And there's like a cutting substance that you can use.
Yeah. So the next one was shelter.
That's right. Shelter. And they scored me really low. They gave me a 9 out of.
Well, and my guess at 9 out of 20 would be the homeowners association,
being in a close-knit community.
Yeah. It was amazing because it looked like you had so much property on that episode.
Yeah.
I mean, the greenhouse and, all that fun stuff. It was a pretty big lot for a homeowners association.
Not bad for 2,500 square foot backyard.
Amazing. So, I guess shelter is what it is for what people have.
Yeah.
I mean, do your best with it. But I'm going to say don't forget your livestock shelter. We want to get to the nuts and bolts of things.
Yep. And when you're building shelter, for your livestock, keep in mind that you are going to be out there working in it too. So just because it works for them doesn't mean you're going to like being in there. I built a shed in my backyard that was just small enough so that it would fit underneath of the back wall.
Right.
I didn't take into account that I used 2x6 for the roof. And so it was at 5'2" inside.
So just give you a kink in your neck.
Yeah, just enough that I'm sitting there sideways trying to get in there, and I'm just cussing it every day that I go in there. Finally, I made it so that the shed was like a giant chest of drawers, and I pulled the rabbit cages out on rails.
Gotcha.
Which, laziness produced innovation that time.
Right.
And so the whole rack of rabbits, there was 8 rabbits on each rack, and there was 3 racks. So I had 24 of them stuffed in this shed.
Nice.
That I could just slide out. And they were comfortable. They all had their own cages, but it was a 6 foot by 4 foot by 4.5 foot tall cage system that I just slid in there like a chest of drawers.
That's awesome.
But anyway, so design that with your rabbits in mind, your livestock in mind, but also you're going to spend a lot of time out there. So you want to be smart about.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. Our goat setup. It's got a little roof on it. We put a little shelter in there for them. And we have where we have the fence and the gate open for that. We actually have to grab the goats, walk all the way around their little enclosure, or we have one on the other side of the yard. We hadn't really given it a whole lot of thought when it came to milking the goats, that we have a good track when it's raining or storming out. We've got to milk those goats twice a day, morning and night. No matter what the weather is, we've got to go get those goats, walk them all the way back to our breezeway, which is where we milk them, in a clean area. So you want it away from where your goats are. You want it away from where your chickens are and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, we didn't really take into account that trek of walking every day. And it doesn't sound like it's a big deal, but when you've got 8 goats and you've got maybe 4 or 5 female goats and you're milking them twice a day and it's raining out, that becomes a little bit of an issue. So when you do plan your homestead, look for the flow. Mm-hmm. I mean, in the shelter for all of your animals, look for the flow of manure as well.
Yes. In fact, that's where I went wrong with my second system, is I didn't take into account that if something breaks, like a water line, everything's going to get wet. And I should have put in a cement floor. I saved $700 on the building by not putting in a cement floor, but I paid probably $4,000 worth of time when crap happened.
Yeah.
Up to my ankles in wet dookie.
Yeah, and now that's mixed in with the mud on the bottom of your thing, and now you've got even bigger problems.
Exactly.
Because it's not like you just hose that out.
No, you can't hose out mud.
Mixed with
poop.
Yeah, yucky.
Yeah, it was a bad situation.
And then it smells too. So when you're dealing with shelter, I think, get down to the nuts and bolts of that. Raised rabbit cages are phenomenal. I love having the raised rabbit cages because it gives me a lot of room to do what I need to underneath it for worm composting, things like that. And then put your compost pile close by when you're looking at that. Again, you want to look at the flow on that. So,
and that's what's great. Rabbit manure doesn't stink when it's composting near as bad as other animals and stuff. So you can have that a little closer to your facility. I do have cages that go all the way to the floor, to maximize space. So if you do have to insulate and air condition your facility, you're making the most of the volume inside of the building.
Sure.
Otherwise, you're just wasting money if you're air conditioning open space above and below cages.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you're going to do worms and stuff like that, have the poop condense elsewhere and then move it to the worm beds.
Yeah, and we move out to an area that we also, when we clean out our chicken coop, what we use is straw for bedding in the chicken coop and in the goat pen. So we're pulling all that straw out and putting it on top of the manure. And that's how we're doing our layers.
Oh, good. Yeah.
And, so that makes a really good, exactly. So that makes a really good kind of layered system. And bringing water back into it. One of the interesting things I had seen, and it was actually on Doomsday Preppers, the crazy guy in the bathtub.
Oh, yeah.
It got me thinking, even in the winter, if you're in a place that freezes, if you can store your water in the middle of your compost pile in a sealed thing, that compost pile stays warm, and you can probably have fresh water that's not frozen, because that's an issue in some areas when it comes to your chickens and your goats and your rabbits.
Well, even with cattle, we had to go down and bust the creek open.
Exactly. So, you've got some options. Consider your environment with that too. And again, shelter is big for that. So
shelter is big. We've got that covered. Why don't we go to food?
Yeah.
Woohoo! Yeah, my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm getting kind of hungry.
Go home and eat some tilapia.
Oh gosh, that sounds good.
I got this. You got to come over for dinner because I got like this. Bring Cherie over. I got this. I think I told you last. He's like 5 pounds.
Oh really?
He's like got to be like 8 pounds now. This tilapia is huge. I gotta.
We're gonna eat this guy.
I gotta. I mean, I just want to. I mean, one tilapia is gonna feed the whole family. I think this guy's huge. I got to get him out of there because he's so big now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How big will they get?
I don't know. I
say
don't
let him
know.
go. Just see what happens.
See what happens.
Yeah.
Because I have put those fish through torture this year. I mean,
because you're not cooling.
I'm not cooling. I had that dang thing up to 98 degrees in my water. Now I am pumping oxygen in.
Okay, yeah.
All right, because as your water gets warmer, your oxygen levels can go down.
It depletes faster because it's hot.
And I've got a system that's half dead right now because we've been doing some experimenting as far as the stuff in it.
Yeah.
We planted off season, no cooling. We're experimenting. I had chemicals all off. I haven't lost a single fish, and this guy's like a monster now. So I'm wondering I'm like, we figured out how to grow these fish.
Well, that's the thing. They're from the Nile.
Yeah.
The water in the Nile is 90 degrees most of the year.
Yeah, we dropped our feeding to once a day instead of twice, and we're feeding him a little bit more too. So he might be stealing some food from some other ones, but all of them are really healthy. Haven't lost a single fish. I'm really happy with the way that's been going this year. So, food, grow it. Right there.
Exactly. So, they scored me a 14 out of 20, which I thought was pretty dang low since
that was kind of the whole thing you're doing is food.
Yeah. I focused on, infinite food supply.
Yeah.
So you got to remember to have food for your food.
Right.
And that is.
I want to get into something real before the food for your food. One of the comments, in fact, a few of the comments on the Doomsday Prepper and that we've gotten back was, well, it's going to take them a long time to ramp up. And I want to dispel that myth right now. If you're raising rabbits as a prepper and you think it's going to take a long time to ramp up, what is that time frame?
Honestly, I started with 5 rabbits, and within 8 months I had 50 breeders producing 250 baby rabbits a month, and it's about 1,250 pounds monthly.
Okay.
So,
and you don't have to go that fast. You could pull the meat out right away.
Exactly. So with 5 breeding rabbits, that was 4 females and a male.
Right.
The 4 females were producing 1,260 pounds. No, 1,200 hold on. Oh, what is it? Yeah, 1,250 pounds a year, I believe it is.
So if you cut that in half to 625,
that's enough for a family of 3.
That's enough for a family of 3 during the ramp-up phase.
Exactly.
And you're still doubling, if not more, your rabbitry size.
Exactly. You're growing exponentially and still feeding your family.
At the same time. So no, it does not take long to ramp up.
No.
I just thought that was interesting that was something that people took out of that, was that it would take a long time. And I don't think they understand bunnies.
Yeah, because rabbits are the only... the guy that got me started, he actually was filmed for the show but didn't make it on there. His name's Lynn Bushnell. And he he told me, son, the fastest math you've ever done is rabbits.
I believe it.
And it was true. Man, Lynn, it seems like everything he touched turns to gold, but anyway.
Even if you run out of cages.
Yeah.
I mean, other than calling Nick at Hostile Hair, right?
That's right.
You can go colony style if you have to in a survival situation.
Yeah. So, you definitely could.
That's something. So what else did they score you on there? I mean, go ahead with your grow food for your food, I guess.
All right. So everything's got to eat, even the things that you are going to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Growing food for your food. Your best bet is seeds. Lots and lots of seeds. I've got 2 55-gallon drums filled full of barley.
Barley seeds.
Barley seeds. And, some of I believe they found seeds in the Egyptian, granaries, the spelt, which is what wheat used to be before we started messing with it. And it's been there for like 4,000 years or something, and it's still viable. So it keeps for a long time as long as it's dry and oxygen free.
Right.
So, keep seed on hand, and 1 pound of barley turns into 6 pounds of feed.
Now, out of curiosity, what else can we use that for? I know it's great for feeding almost all of our livestock.
Yep.
Even the tilapia will eat that stuff.
Have you fed it?
Yeah, I fed some in there, and I can't say they munch on it too much. They prefer, black soldier flies and fish food.
Well, I prefer cupcakes versus greens too. So,
yeah, well, they eat, they eat the algae and everything as well. So you can supplement their food pretty easily. But what can you use sprouted barley as far as human consumption? Do you know, is that really good for people too? Is it something we should add to our diet when we're in a prepping situation, or can add to it? Should we?
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I know that you can use just alfalfa sprouts or Brussels sprouts and all of these things you can grow in the same system.
And they're all really good for you. I mean,
yes.
People do this for wheatgrass. I guess that's a good example, right?
What's funny is you can buy a little grower that sits on your counter for wheatgrass, and it'll cost you like $100, maybe $200 for a nice one. Well, you're growing like half a pound a day with that stuff. I'm thinking, no, get one of mine and get it done right. You can grow 45 pounds a day in a system that's 2 foot by 3 foot by 5 foot tall.
That'll fit in a blender.
Yeah, it will.
I don't like wheatgrass, so I'm not even going to go there.
No, and neither do I. There's the reason I raise rabbits.
Right.
I
like meat.
Rabbits.
Yeah. So, what else
So as far as food goes, figure out what your family eats. Figure out what you need to feed your family. And then
have
what
they like too.
Exactly. You want quality of life. Even when the zombies are scratching at the roof of your bunker.
Well, I think it's even more important at that point to have something you like. Because when you're stuck inside the house with your family, or you can't go very far, or zombies are scratching at the house, and you want to have a steak. I don't want to be eating MREs. I want a steak.
Exactly.
So.
MREs are good to get you over the hump.
Oh, yeah.
But you want something good.
Yeah.
So, figure out what your family likes and prepare accordingly. And then
rabbit, quail, aquaponics.
Mm-hmm.
Quail, can we touch on quail? I mean, quail are awesome because of the eggs.
Yep.
And the meat, and the fact that a lot of people can't have chickens.
That's right.
So you do quail cages too.
I do.
I don't see them on the site, but
we've been focusing on rabbits because rabbits is kind of.
But if somebody wanted a quail cage, they can. You built my quail cage. It was kind of a prototype, I think, but.
Yeah, we built that special to go over top of your aquaponics system.
I love that cage. It's not over top of my aquaponics system, but it hangs in my chicken coop.
Yeah.
And it's phenomenal. And we've got a mouse problem right now. So we talk about, I'm going to go back to shelter. You've seen in fact, everybody, when Nick had his hero shot, saw my chicken coop, which I bought from a neighbor and is in pretty shabby shape. I've got a mouse problem because it sits above the ground on cinder blocks. And and all the food from the quail and especially from the quail.
Yeah, they're kind of wasteful.
They come down. So now I've got a mouse problem and I've got a perfect hiding place for them. So when you're planning your shelter, consider the food waste as well as the animal product waste.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing is when I had my shelter for the rabbits, the mice were eating the poop. Because there's still nutritional value in that poop.
We're getting mice climbing up in the rabbit cage into the
food?
Into the food, which is why I had to get the covered ones. And the other day I opened one of those. There were 6 little mice inside of
they laid
No, they were eating.
Oh,
they were in there eating. I was like, what is that noise? And most of them had scattered. And I opened that thing and the damn thing right up my arm.
Did you scream?
No, I didn't, but I stepped on 3 of them. But man, because I was trying to, I'm not happy with that whole situation.
So I've got some live traps at my house because we had some mice in the backyard. Even when we moved in, there was mice back there. No rabbits, no nothing back there. Mice.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know. But I'd catch them and give them to the water turtles.
Oh, there you go.
And those water turtles are, it's like miniature Jaws.
And I guess when you're doing homesteading and urban prepping, I don't want to kill everything.
No.
I figure there's a natural balance somewhere.
Yep.
But why not use those mice? I don't think our mice carry a ton of diseases. No. I mean, they're pretty well fed.
They're non-GMO fed.
They're non-GMO. I mean, they're eating everything in my property. I know they carry diseases, but I'm guessing that allowing the chickens to eat some of the mice every once in a while isn't going to spread the bubonic plague.
No.
But at the same time, I don't want to be overrun with 1,000 mice because then we will have issues.
Exactly. And the more mice you have, the better chances of you having disease.
Yeah, and you get the
overpopulation.
Yeah, you know, that kind of thing.
So, but what's great is the mice that have been stealing from me, I catch them and I put them back to work.
Right.
They get thrown in, the turtles eat them, the turtle waste goes into non-food plants that I'm planning on growing. I want to do, what do you call that? Like a leach field, but a wicking bed to grow different grasses that can be fermented.
Gotcha. And that's for fuel.
That's for fuel.
Nice.
Which brings us to our next topic, energy. First off, the show did a horrible job of portraying, I got one thing in there. I'm an alternative fuels geek, but I built a flamethrower because that has to do with alternative fuels. Thank you for making that jump. There was no explanation to why I even said anything about alternative fuels. They might as well have said, I'm a major pyro.
Well, and that part that they cut out was where I was filming with you for 2 full days.
Ugh.
And it was the best part of the show, not because I was in it.
Oh, yeah. Well, you definitely added it. I think 60% was because you were in it.
Sure. I'm flattered. No, the part that they cut out was gasification. And we're going to do a whole episode on gasification with some pretty dang good gasification experts too.
Yes.
So I don't want to get a whole lot into that. But they missed that. The whole energy thing score is a little low in my opinion because you're running a generator off of rabbit poop. For God's sakes, how do you not score that higher?
Yeah, and I don't understand. They gave me where is it? A 5.
Out of
20.
5 out of 20.
I think that's what it was. Well, there's actually a space on here. It doesn't look like there's anything there.
Was that part of your X Factor maybe or something?
No, because they put the X Factor in as fodder, which they could have tied under food as well because I could eat the fodder. They didn't know. They didn't.
Yeah.
They missed the point on so much stuff.
Yeah.
You'd think that they'd hire some preppers to tell them what was trying to be accomplished.
To their defense, I don't think they knew. Because Doomsday is the one that handed them the stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't think the explanation went with it.
No, and I'm saying that Doomsday should hire people of the prepper mindset to say, okay, this is what they're trying to accomplish.
Practical preppers is a prepper mindset.
Yes, but they don't work. They're like contracted to come in. They don't see everything.
Oh, I see. So some of the people that work for Doomsday ought to be able to explain it and translate it a little bit better. Some prepper mindset, not just some film guy or
not just some dude that's in the middle of New York City and, takes a cab everywhere and
no, I hear
hasn't
the sound guy was pretty cool.
Yeah, he was cool. Well, he was from Brazil, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it is just so energy I didn't really get scored very high. But anaerobic digestion, we've talked about that before. Gasification, all of these things change hydrocarbons into a usable fuel.
Yeah.
In fact,
well, let me stop you because let me have you re-say that without the word hydrocarbons.
Oh, I'm going to slap you. I hated that so bad. Apparently hydrocarbon, I think I said this on the last episode, but hydrocarbon is too big a word for the simple folk watching the show.
And I think every time I heard Nick in the 30 takes that were done try to explain something, he used the word hydrocarbon. And every time the guy stopped him and said, can you do it without that word?
Can you do it a little bit more simple? Mm-hmm. Say, hey, how about you just have me film the word being said, hey, a hydrocarbon is fuel.
Like define it up front.
Define it up front and then people will follow along. That's called teaching. Maybe you guys should try it. Anyway, so energy, they scored me low, even though the whole point of me getting into rabbits in the first place was to create or to actually transfer energy efficiently.
Right.
So we'll follow up on.
We've talked about the story, so go to the last episode. You'll hear that.
Exactly. So next up, security. Everybody that's a prepper has guns.
Yes.
Guns are great.
Not everybody.
If you're one dude with a gun, you're an easy kill.
Right.
Get some friends, build a community up, like we're saying. If you're just one dude, maybe with your family, there's only so many guns you can shoot. So Yeah, be versatile so that you can use any gun. But the reality is you need a team. You need people around you. That's why I like the digging in idea versus bugging out.
Yeah. No, I'm really lucky. You've met some of my neighbors.
Oh, dude, you got crazy neighbors.
I've got some crazy neighbors, which
and they
make
like
good neighbors. Well, and I like them because we all, hey, this is our property. If I'm doing something to piss you off, you let me know and we'll talk about it. And that's where it goes. And we'll figure out a way to remedy it. At the same time, we're not going to go freaking calling the police or putting in some kind of complaint with somebody or doing this or that or the other thing. If one of my neighbors pulls an AR out and shoots a drone out of the sky.
It's for the good of the community.
Which I'm not saying he did. But if he were to, shoot a drone out of the sky that some guy is flying around, I'm not going to go calling the police. I'm going to say, hey, when you do shoot that out of the sky, make sure the bullets don't come down on my house. That's what a good neighbor does.
There you go.
So.
That's awesome. So if you're getting started into the prepping, think of home defense first. If somebody comes barreling through your door, what do you want to have in your hand? That's debatable, but go to the range, feel out some guns. You can rent guns there.
We've got to do a weapon episode one of these times.
The poor liberal gardener that's been trying to listen through this right now is
I didn't know we had a liberal gardener. Sorry.
Yeah, we've got a liberal garden. It's where we grow them. Yeah. No, I'm just saying that okay, guns are a big part of I like guns. I've been hunting forever. My dad is actually pretty left to center and still has a bunch of guns. So,
well, one of the things we're looking at as a family is bow and arrow. My kids want to do bow. So I was thinking the other day, maybe we should all get a bow and go out and start trying that. I wouldn't mind a nice crossbow. I'm not big time. I used to shoot, but I haven't done it in a long time. I think it'd be fun. So it's not just guns. You can do other things, and it's hunting too. I mean, if you say I'll never pull the trigger on a person, just be aware that that's your choice if somebody comes, and maybe showing it to them is enough, but they're good chance they're going to use it against you at that point. So.
Yeah.
Figure something else out for security then.
Exactly. Maybe a big dog.
A really big dog and a big wall.
Yeah.
Something. I don't know what you can do, but I think guns are a big part of prepping, and I think guns are a big part of urban homesteading. Mm-hmm. We have animals that come in, and I will not hesitate to shoot them. I don't see a whole lot of choice and I know people, you shouldn't shoot a coyote, or I'd never shoot a coyote or something like that. Well, when you've got a coyote coming in and it takes out 30 hens and 12 rabbits, you start thinking twice about whether you're going to shoot a coyote, because that's your survival. And to us, it's no longer just survival. It's part of our budget.
Yeah.
I can't afford to do other stuff. That's part of what we do to survive. That's how we feed our children. I'm going to shoot a coyote.
Yeah, it's threatening your livelihood, not because it's going to bite you or attack you. It's taking your food.
Yeah. I'd rather scare it away.
Yeah.
And if I can scare it away the first day and the second day and it doesn't come back, that's fine. If it keeps coming back and it's killing my chickens, I'm done.
And to be honest with you, I hunt coyotes.
I do too, but
they eat cattle. The government thought it would be real cool to bring in coyotes to bring down the deer population, but deer are really hard to catch. So what do? They go after livestock.
Yeah.
Baby calves. Yeah. My dad's farm, a coyote that steps on his property is dead. He raises dogs just to chase them.
Yeah.
So.
The dogs are a really good defense.
Exactly.
Good food supply too. No, I won't go there.
Did you just do that? You did, didn't you?
I did.
Well, actually, yes, without eating the dog. My dad has a beagle, a long-legged beagle. That thing will catch rabbits and bring them to you.
Heck yeah.
And it is awesome, because then you don't have
Jack Russell Terriers?
Yeah.
They're really good, like mice dogs and rabbit dogs. They'll go down in the hole and bring it out.
Yeah.
So a little terrier like that, they're yappy. They'll let you know. They'll alert you. We have a little terrier, a little chihuahua, so I don't know what he's good at other than yapping. But when the big one barks and gets woken up from the little one, because he's a lazy dog.
Yeah.
People will stop.
Yeah, it's a little deeper when you hear that pow, pow, pow. It's nothing but with a yeah, you're going to be.
I told you I put on a mask the other day and walked in the house.
Oh gosh.
And the border collie, he went and peed in the corner. He was done. The Chihuahua yapped and ran behind Angie's legs. Tucker, the big dog, came right up to me, and I took my mask off because I was afraid he was going to bite me. So he stopped me. And I know the dog. And he he didn't quite come after me because I was still in the right clothes, and I think I had the right smell. But he was going to have no part of me coming in with that mask on.
My dog was going to chew my face off because I started speaking Spanish. And she never heard that before. I lived in Mexico for a few years, and when I came back, my dog was really happy to see me and everything. Well, about a month goes by, and I walk into the other room and I start speaking in Spanish. She came unglued, flying around the corner, ready to just deal death to some poor Mexican. And she was very confused when she saw it was me standing there.
Well, she thought there was somebody in her house that did not belong.
I was like, Mom, why did you teach the dog to be racist? No, just kidding. No, she just, it didn't sound like me.
Right. She thought there was somebody else in the house.
So I started speaking to her in Spanish so she knew that I had a new voice.
There you go.
Anyway.
So what else? The X Factor?
The X Factor, we covered fodder. 1 pound of barley becomes 6 pounds of feed in 6 days.
Yeah, my mom's actually just ordered a system for fodder, to help feed the chickens.
Which I just heard that it shipped today, so it should be coming.
So Mom, when you're listening, you should already be up and running.
Exactly, hopefully. So, that's it for that. On another note, remember, this is something that my wife and I talked about a lot. You're prepping for you and your family. How far out do you want to prep? I'm not saying longevity of your family, but how far do your preps need to reach to bring in intermediate family, friends, neighbors?
I think they need to reach pretty far, because I have a problem if somebody comes to my door hungry that I don't know. Mm-hmm. I'd really rather feed them than turn them away.
Yeah. And so with that in mind, what's the best way to prep for those people? Get educated yourself and talk about and educate those people that you love.
That's right. Each one teach one.
In fact, what was it? 2 weeks ago, we do a family home evening, and my parents actually set it up to where the kids that have moved out, we change off every month. We get together and do a family home evening, and it's usually religious. You know, we talk about different doctrines and stuff, but I'm not exactly the Bible thumping type. And so my family home evening, we came up with a preparedness plan for our intermediate family.
I think there's a lot to be said for having a plan.
Yeah.
And it's not just for the preparedness, but for the homestead, for what you're going to do, for how far you're going to reach, for all of that. One of my philosophies is if somebody comes hungry, I'll feed them and put them to work and teach them how to do it. You know,
you're going to leave with a full belly and blisters.
Exactly. Come figure this out and then go teach some. Now you've got a skill. You can go teach the guy who's hungry down the road.
Exactly.
And then they aren't coming and knocking on your door.
Yeah.
So community.
That is the key to this, is the more people that know how to do it, the less dependents you're going to have knocking on your door.
And the best way to teach people is to send them to www.wegrowharvest.com. Did I just go there?
You know, your segue was working pretty good until you started giggling like a little schoolgirl.
I couldn't help it. No, send them over. let them listen. I knew you'd give me a hard time about it, but
no, I mean, seriously, you know me. I'm a shameless self-promoter. I'll be the first one to admit that.
And wait, there's more.
And wait, if you sign up today, okay, I got to tell you this story. This was awesome. I got a random text. Like, you ever get queued in on like 50 texts at the same time from some dude you may have met or may not have and just got your number? Let me see if I can find it real. Oh gosh, where is it? Try to pull it up. Okay. This guy sends out a random text and it says, "God's not dead." And there's like 50 people. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm religious. That's cool. And before anybody else replied, I put on there, "Agreed. But does he still love me even though I teach people to eat rabbits?" HostileHair.com.
Oh, love it.
And so all 50 of these people get this random text about somebody teaching them to eat rabbits.
Oh, and that's so good. Talk about taking something like that and turning it.
And I was just thinking, oh gosh, I hope God has a sense of humor, because and then the guy's like, yes, he still loves you.
He was serious too.
Oh yeah. And I'm like, oh, and then I wrote, whew, cause I wasn't going to stop. LOL. And then the dude, what's cool is he texted me back. He said, keep prepping. And I don't know who this is still.
Right.
Like it's just a random 623 number, which is West Phoenix. But anyway, from that, this other guy, texts me and says, F you effing homo, go F yourself. And I was just laughing. I'm like, I don't know what same is, but what same of what? Homo means same. I don't get it. It was just great. Messed with him for most of Sunday.
Yeah. Well,
on that note.
Yeah, on that note. So nuts and bolts.
Nuts and bolts plan.
Water, food, shelter, livestock. Don't forget them when you're planning your preps. When you're planning your food, when you're planning everything, you've got to grow food for your food. You've got to have food for your feed. You've got to have water. You've got to have something to heat the water for you if you don't have, electricity, and to keep it, from freezing up, and if you're somewhere in the winter. So take all that into account. If you're planning to go out and buy all this cages and all this and do all this, take a step back, put a plan together, call Nick, call us, send us a voicemail, and calm down and let us help you with it. Because I've seen too many people that just kind of jump in and don't think about it. And that's exactly what I've done many a times.
You're going to get overwhelmed. So start slow. Give us a call. We'll help you get on the right track.
Yeah, we had a email. I think it was from one of the listeners. I've got a small aquaponics system. My chemicals something's going on. I've lost all my fish. I'm ready to give up. Well, one, you have to realize that you started with the small aquaponics system is the hardest one to start with.
Yeah, because your fluctuation's crazy.
Yeah, you're tiny. So, again, in water and when it comes to fish, you either filter or you dilute. Well, filtering is pretty tough in a small system, but you don't have any dilution there at all. So it's really hard to start small sometimes, whereas it's a lot easier, and it's a lot easier to learn if you start kind of medium size, if you go to the IBC tote over the 20-gallon fish tank.
Agreed.
So just be careful what you're doing and reach out to the community around you. You've got us on Facebook, and we point to a lot of other groups out there too. If you're interested in getting, started on quail, Scott Yarish, who we had on, all about quail episode, has a really good Facebook group where you can go ask those questions. Okay, how many quail do I want to start with? What kind of cage system should I do? Where do I want to keep them? Maybe you didn't realize they were messy eaters. So things like that. So reach out to the community.
Well, cool. On that note, let's wrap it up, eh?
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 Sponsors and all that stuff.
Yes, we have sponsors. Who do we have?
Bud Out e-cigs.
There you go.
3 Valley locations as well as online. Go to WeGrowOurs.com and they're on the right. HostleHair.com, Ecopod Gardens, My Lavender Life. We're going to do a show on oil, so I'm looking forward to that and the whole lemon droppers thing. And, if they're listening, that's going to be fun. So next week, I think we're going to do that one. She's a sponsor and she's my wife. So, I don't know, take that whatever it is. And then what else?
There's just Facebook. So many things I could say there. We're just
go ahead, say it.
Insert joke here.
She's going to be here next week, so you go ahead and say anything you want.
And she actually listens to the episode. Mine, I don't have to worry because she doesn't?
No. She'll listen to the lemon one, or to the oils episode.
Oh, okay.
She's listened to every episode she's been on.
My wife doesn't listen to it.
She listened to the one she was on, I bet.
She did because I played it for her family and they're all laughing the whole time.
Yeah, I got Angie on that, and we were only like 3 episodes in it. We did a road trip. I was like, well, since we're in the car, we might as well have you listen to all the episodes. So I just played them back to back. We've got a road trip coming up to Colorado, which is about a 14, 15 hour drive each way. And we're almost at 30 episodes.
Perfect.
So since she's not listening. Yeah. So Bud Out e-cigs, Hostile Hair, EcoPod Gardens. Go to our website, WeGrowOurs.com. Send us a voicemail. Send us feedback. WeGrowOurs.com/askus. Facebook.com/WeGrowOurs. Twitter.com/WeGrowOurs. Anything else?
No.
Now check out Nick's YouTube channel too if you get a chance. Oh yeah.
We're going to have some more videos up there.
Yeah. He's got some gasifier, videos up there, which are pretty cool. I think, I think he's going to put a animal rights episode thing up. I keep linking out to it. I want everybody to see that. So kind of like the rant he did a couple episodes ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, come join us. Have fun.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you next week.